In 1986, Austin's newest junior high was named Covington Junior High after the Covingtons. This may be the only school in Texas named after band directors, and it is believed to be the first to be named after people who are still living. Bill J. Dean. Bill Dean was born in Sapulpa, Oklahoma, September 7, 1924. The Dean family moved to Tulsa, where Bill, at age 10, started his clarinet studies and continued the lessons until he graduated from Tulsa's Central High School in 1942. He then enrolled in Baylor University in Waco, but only stayed one semester as he was drafted into the United States Army. He served with the Army in Europe for 3 years, and in 1945 and 46, he joined the 7th Army Headquarters Band in Heidelberg, Germany. He returned to Baylor in 1946 and graduated with a degree in business in 1948. Bill continued his education at Baylor, receiving a Bachelor of Music Education degree in 1950. While at Baylor, he played clarinet in the Baylor Band, Baylor Symphony, and the Waco Symphony. Bill started his teaching career in 1950 as high school band director at Haskell, Texas. He remained there for 3 years and then moved to Odessa in 1953, where he started his long and outstanding teaching career in the Odessa Public Schools. His first position was that of Assistant Director of Bands at Odessa High School with one of today's honorees, Robert Maddox. He moved to Bowie Junior High as head director in 1956 and remained there until 1959, when he returned to Odessa High School as director of band and orchestra. The Odessa High Marching Band received first division ratings at the UIL Marching Contest for 31 consecutive years. They appeared at halftime at several professional football games. The Odessa Band won UIL Sweepstakes Awards for 20 of the last 22 years Bill directed the band. The concert band was named Outstanding Band at numerous festivals held throughout the United States. Bill retired from teaching in 1981 and became store manager for the May and Duncan Music Company in Odessa. He remained there for 1 year, missed teaching, and returned to music education as associate director of the Texas Aggie Band and director of the Texas A&M Symphonic Band. Bill retired the second time in 1988, and his favorite hobby is golf, 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 Las Vegas, and more golf. Bill is a past president of TBA, past president of Alpha Chapter Phi Beta Mu, past division chairman and vice president of TMEA, an all-state band organizer during the years 69 and 70. He was honored as Texas Bandmaster of the Year in 1987 by TBA. He's very active as a clinician and adjudicator. Bill is truly an outstanding band director and music educator in the state of Texas. He has a long list of Odessa students that are now teaching music and directing instrumental groups. A great tribute to a great man. I don't know who wrote that, Bill. I want him to write mine. Joe DeCosmo. Joe DeCosmo was born May 17, 1925 in Mount Union, Pennsylvania. He started clarinet lessons at age 14 and performed in his high school and jazz bands until graduation. Joe served in the Marines during World War II, and upon completion of his time in the military, he spent 1.5 years pursuing other various vocations before starting college at Western New Mexico to study music. His first teaching job after graduation from college was in El Paso, Texas, where he taught middle school and band for 2 years. He then taught in the same system at the high school level for 2 years. In 1955, Joe moved to Pampa, Texas to teach at Pampa Junior High School. Joe started many programs in the Pampa instrumental music program that may have been the key to its continued success. For 31 years, Joe's band received superior ratings at UIL contests. His bands have also served their school and community by performing in parades and Joe is a member of TMEA, TBA, and Phi Beta Mu. In 1986, he retired from the public school system. However, he still teaches privately for the Pampa schools. Joe also teaches at various summer band camps and serves as an adjudicator and clinician throughout the school year. Joe has and still serves as a role model for all Panhandle directors. His bands have always been superb. John R. Bob Dickinson was born on February 8, 1916 at Bluffton, Indiana. He graduated from Wink High School, Wink, Texas in 1935. While in high school, he played clarinet under the direction of Earl Ray, one of today's honorees. He attended 3 summers at Southwestern Band Conservatory, Dallas, Texas, where he was a student of Joseph DeLuca. He attended Texas Tech University, where he received his Bachelor of Science degree, music education major in 1940, and his Master of Arts degree in 1950. He also did graduate work at Texas Tech. After teaching at Seagraves for 4 months, Bob's career was interrupted by World War II. He played in service bands at Lubbock, Brownwood, Mineral Wells, El Paso, and in the Philippine Islands. He also served as First Sergeant and Drum Major under Chief Warrant Officer Joe L. Haddon, another of today's honorees. He was discharged the day after Christmas in 1945 and became band director at Wink in January 1946. He remained at Wink until May 1951 and then moved to Crane, Texas in September of 1951. Bob moved to El Paso in 1963 and taught instrumental music there until his retirement in 1985. Bob's band won numerous sweepstakes awards over the years in contests. His Crane band was runner-up for State Honor Band in 1958. Bob is a member of TMEA, TBA, Phi Beta Mu, and TMAA. He has served on the Music Selection Committee for the Prescribed Music List and has served as Regional Chairman and Regional Secretary-Treasurer of TMEA. He was a charter member of Kappa Kappa Psi at Texas Tech. His curriculum guide for beginners is still used by the El Paso Public Schools. Bob and his wife are celebrating their 50th anniversary and will leave San Antonio in the morning to join a cruise, a gift from their sons. Fielder was born on September 30th, 1915 in Winters, Texas. He graduated from Abilene High School and received his bachelor's degree from Texas Tech in 1937. He completed his master's degree from Hardin-Simmons University in 1952. Mr. Fielder's first teaching job was in Spur, Texas in 1937. After 2 years at Spur, he took the band job at Phillips, Texas, where he taught until the outbreak of World War II. He joined the Navy and served with distinction until 1946. Discharged, he moved back to Abilene to work with his father in the lumberyard business and helped Raymond Bynum with the band program at Abilene High School. In 1946, Bynum left Abilene High to become band director at McMurray College, and Mr. Fielder became band director at Abilene High School. Fielder's bands were outstanding, and his marching bands were acclaimed by all. He remained as band director until 1962, and then he moved into administration. In 1969, Mr. Fielder was offered a fellowship at East Texas State, where he completed his doctorate in education. He became a faculty member at the University of Texas at Dallas and taught there until his retirement. Mr. Fielder has served as region chairman of TMEA, state band chairman of TMEA, and president of TMEA. He was also a president of the Alpha chapter of Phi Beta Mu. Mr. Fielder and his wife, Margaret, presently reside in Plano, Texas. Eddie Galvan was born August 19, 1927 in Corpus Christi. He has an Associate of Arts degree from Del Mar College in Corpus Christi, and he received his Bachelor of Music degree from Texas A&I University in Kingsville, Texas in 1952. His Master of Science degree in Music Education in 1953 is also from Texas A&I. He has done postgraduate work at the University of Houston. Eddie's first teaching job was as an assistant band director at Fremont High School, Fremont, Texas in 1953. He moved to Refugio High School as assistant band and choral director in 1954. He was band director at Driscoll Junior High in Corpus Christi for 6 years, and then he moved to Roy Miller High School in 1962, where he directed the high school band for 10 years. Eddie served in different administrative capacities in the Corpus Christi Independent School District from 1972 until 1985. In 1985, he became assistant professor of music at Corpus Christi State, where he still remains. Eddie's bands were consistent UIL sweepstakes winners. They received outstanding awards at Six Flags Over Texas and the Buccaneer Days Festival. They also made a 1968 guest appearance at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. Eddie is a member of Phi Beta Mu, TMEA, TBA, and the Texas Music Educators Association. He has been guest clinician and a performer at many jazz festivals, as well as adjudicator throughout the state of Texas. G.T. Gilligan. I'll start with that. He says, thanks to Richard Thomas, my junior high and assistant director for 23 years. Are you here, Richard?
No, he's not here.
The Big K Band of Kermit High School was the product of 33 years of service by G.T. Gilligan. Gilly was born on January 14, 1915. In Greene County, Indiana. Attended high school in Austin, Texas, where he played trombone in Weldon Covington's band. He attended Hardin Simmons and the University of Indiana before receiving his degrees from Texas Tech. Gilly taught in Brownfield and Ballinger prior to World War II. During the war years, he was a ground school instructor. In 1947, he moved to Kermit, where the legend began. He taught high school band and was later band coordinator and supervisor for the Kermit Independent School District. His bands received 18 sweepstakes and many other First Division awards. They performed in numerous Cotton Bowl halftimes at the State Fair of Texas, and the Kermit Band was picked as the 5th best band in the United States in the Disneyland Marching Competition. The K Band received many other prestigious invitations to perform during Gilligan's tenure. Gilly was named Teacher of the Year in 1959, and TBA selected him Texas Bandmaster of the Year in 1970. He is held in the highest esteem by his fellow band directors throughout the Southwest, as evidenced by his being in much demand as an adjudicator in Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. He has served as an adjudicator at every state solo and ensemble contest at the University of Texas since its beginning. He has also remarkably unique humanitarian. He is happiest when he is promoting his fellow man, young or old. Gilly and his wife, Lanier, still live in Kermit.
Gilligan also serves as chaperone and daddy at band camps where he teaches for the faculty. He always leaves the light in the window. Durward Howard. Born in July 16, 1924, on a ranch in southwest Texas near a small town called Concan in Uvalde County. After completing grade school, his family moved so that he might attend junior high and high school in Sabinal, where he graduated in 1941. He entered the University of Texas in September 41 with a major in music education. World War II interrupted his education for 3.5 years, during which time he served the United States in European theaters as a soldier in General Eisenhower's Allied headquarters. After the war, Harvard completed his degree in January 1948 and took a teaching position in Temple High School as band and orchestra director. He remained there for 37 years until his retirement in 1984. In 1979, he was named Director of Fine Arts and Humanities for the Temple ISD. He completed the requirements for his master's degree from Columbia University in 1952. His Temple band garnered many awards and honors under his direction, including frequent national television appearances for the Dallas Cowboys, as well as New Year's Day performances in the Cotton Bowl, for which he served as pageantry consultant. The Temple Band excelled in pageantry and thematic shows and introduced the first bandsman unfurling a 30-yard long United States flag on television for a Dallas Cowboy Thanksgiving game. The flag with 200 bandsmen, a drill team, and a large chorus became the staple Thanksgiving performance for the Cowboys for 21 years. The Temple bands were consistent UIL sweepstakes winners. In addition, the band received First Division awards at Buck Festival and Six Flags Over Texas Festival. He served many years as an adjudicator and clinician for bands, orchestras, and drill teams in Texas and Louisiana. He currently holds the office of Secretary-Treasurer of the Alpha Chapter Phi Beta Mu. He is a member of TMEA, TBA, TSTA, and TMAA. Irwin and his wife Jean continue to be active in community affairs and travel extensively as escorts on international tours. They're leaving next month for a tour of the Scandinavian countries. James A. Jacobson. Get 96 of your neighbors out and try this. These words from a TV commentator brought Jim Jacobson and the TCU band to national prominence in 1958. Jim was born on May 8, 1920 in Norwood, Colorado. He received a Bachelor of Arts degree with a major in public school music from the University of Northern Colorado, a Master of Music Education degree from TCU, did graduate study at Vandercook College of Music, and was honored with a Doctor of Music degree from the Southern College of Fine Arts in Houston. In the fall of 1945, he began his career as director of bands at Midwestern University in Wichita Falls, Texas, inaugurating the band and choir programs in that institution. He remained there 10 years before moving to TCU in June of 1955. Jacobson's marching bands were nationally prominent for nearly 40 years. While director of bands at Midwestern University, he was one of the first to develop the complete 8-to-5 system of marching. The new system demanded total revision of existing concepts of marching fundamentals and terminology, and his contribution in these areas have been widely acclaimed. In 1958, the two performances by his TCU band on national television introduced the famous moving diamond drill technique, later known as our friend the Step 2 drill. Dr. Jacobson is a member of the American Bandmaster Association, holds membership in Phi Beta Mu, TMEA, TBA, NBA, Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia. He was named Bandmaster of the Year by TBA in 1988. He continues to be in demand as a band clinician and consultant, as well as serving as guest conductor and judge for band concerts, contests, and festivals throughout the country. In addition, he is the Executive Secretary of Region 5 for the UIL. Jim retired from TCU in 1982 after 27 years at the institution. Jim and his wife, Wynn, reside in Fort Worth.
Messed up my hair.
J.W. King was born April 17, 1921 in Roscoe, Texas, and graduated from high school at Lorraine in 1939. He attended Texas Tech in Lubbock, earning his bachelor and master's degree in education. He was a member of several Air Force bands during World War II as a horn player, and has continued to play horn during his teaching career in the Lubbock, Amarillo, and Plainview Symphony Orchestras. Professionally, he has been director of bands at Westbrook High School, 41-42, Big Spring High School, 47-53, Hale Center High School, 1953-70, Canyon High School, 70-79, and assistant director at Plainview High School, 79-83. He has also been active in summer band camp activities, having taught at the Texas Tech Band Camp for 15 years, Midwestern University Camp for 26 years, and the West Texas State University Band Camp a total of 32 years. J.W. has served as president of Alpha Chapter 5 NMU, president of the TBA, and president of TMEA. He is a member of the American Bandmaster Association and the American School Band Directors Association. In 1977, TBA recognized J.W. as Bandmaster of the Year. In 1965, he was recognized by the School Musician magazine in a feature called They Are Making America Musical. J.W. and his wife, Mary Jane, were recognized by the University of North Texas Concert Band when the band extended an invitation to their 3 children to perform with the North Texas Band at TMEA in 1989 as soloist, and J.W. is one of the guest conductors. Their children are Dr. Mary Karen Clardy, faculty member at the University of North Texas, Nancy Sanders, woodwind instructor at McMurray College, and John King, principal trumpet in the California Symphony and freelance trumpet player in the Bay Area. J.W.'s bands have been consistent winners at UIL events and won other outstanding awards and festivals throughout the U.S. J.W.'s Canyon High School band played for President Gerald Ford when he made an appearance in Canyon in '76. J.W. has a total of 41 years as band director in the Texas Public Schools, and even though he says he's retired, he still gets up and goes up to Plainview High School every day at 7:30 to help the band students. Boy, that's dedication. He is presently executive secretary at the UIL Region 16. J.W. and Mary Jane live in Plainview, Texas. Maurice McAdoo. North Texas State bands achieved national prominence under the baton of Maurice McAdoo. The band's recordings are still played throughout the United States, and the 26 annual tours the band made covered 14 states. Many of the leading music educators of Texas played under his direction. Maurice McAdoo was born on November 17, 1904 in Greenville, Illinois. His first musical experience was playing cornet in a municipal band in Anthony, Kansas. At the age of 16, he played with tent shows and stock companies. Mr. McAdoo's father was a professional trumpet player and teacher, and later taught theory in a college in Billings, Montana. Mr. McAdoo played professionally from 1924 to 1930. He graduated from Illinois Wesleyan University with a Bachelor of Music degree in 1939, and he received his Master of Music degree from the American Conservatory of Music in Chicago in 1953. He was a conducting pupil of Niccolo Malco. Mr. McAdoo was associated for 14 years with public schools in Illinois, including 7 years at Greenville High School and 2 years at York High School in Elmhurst. He also taught at Greenville College in Illinois. He had an impressive contest record that included a string of first division ratings through regional, state, and national contests. He became director of bands at the University of North Texas in 1945, where he remained until his retirement in 1975. For 28 years, he served as adjudicator, clinician, and guest conductor in 21 states. Mr. McAdoo was Texas Bandmaster of the Year in 1973. He became a member of the American Bandmaster Association in 1974. He has an honorary lifetime membership in both Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia and Kappa Kappa Psi. He is a member of Phi Beta Mu, TMEA, and TBA. Currently, he is educational consultant for Brooks Mays Music Company in Texas. chose Baylor Hospital in Dallas for Carol's place of birth, which was June 29, 1919. Following the death of his mother, Carol and his father moved to Lubbock County in 1924, where he attended a two-teacher school, Southwest Ward. He also attended Lubbock Junior High and was in the first class to enter the new Lubbock High School building in 1931. In the summer of 1927, while visiting in Denton, Carol began piano lessons. And again, while visiting in Denton in the summer of 32, he began trumpet studies on a $10 King trumpet. He joined the Lubbock High School Band in the fall of 1932 under the direction of H.A. Anderson. He graduated from Lubbock High in 34. He planned to attend Hardin-Simmons University, but changed plans and enrolled in Texas Tech University in the fall of 34 after D.O. Wiley came to Tech as band director. Carol's father died in 1935, and D.O. Wiley played an important personal role in Carol's life, as well as a key role in his music education. Carol changed his major from journalism to band in his sophomore year at Tech. He participated in the first Tech summer band school for high school directors, high school students, and college students. In the fall of 1937, he became a charter member and vice president of Alpha Omicron chapter of Kappa Kappa Psi National Band Fraternity. Also in the fall of 37, he wrote the words for a new Texas Tech fight song, which is still in use today. Carol did his student teaching with the Lubbock High School Band in the spring of 38, graduated from Texas Tech in 1938 with a Bachelor of Science degree in education with a band major degree. First band job was at Texoma, Oklahoma, where he was principal, band bus driver, and various times also taught ag, woodwork, arithmetic, geography, and reading. In the summer of 1939, he attended Panhandle A&M in Goodwill, Oklahoma, and in the summer of 40, he accepted a part-time job as Denton High School band director. He also attended North Texas State Teachers College, earned a Master of Music degree in June 41. He later did postgraduate work in North Texas and earned a supervisor certificate from the TEA. In 41, he was employed full-time by Denton ISD, teaching all band classes and one class of oral history at Denton Junior High. September 42, he enlisted in the U.S. Navy as a musician. There in November 45, Naval Training Station in Idaho and Newport, Rhode Island, aboard the USS Guam and the business staff of the Navy School of Music in Washington, D.C. After he was discharged from the Navy, he finished the 45-46 school year as high school band director at Hereford, Texas, succeeding the late Ralph Smith Sr., who is the father of today's honoree Ralph Smith Jr. In 46, he returned to Denton High School as band director. In 56, the first assistant was employed. In 1950, Carol was designated director of instrumental music. There have been 73 members of the Denton High School Band selected for membership in the All-State Band Orchestra while Carol was director. A number of his graduates become successful band orchestra directors, and others played professionally in various music fields and U.S. service bands. Carol was a member of TMEA, active in TMEA affairs, serving as regional officer and contest chairman, honorary lifetime member of Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia. He is a member of Phi Beta Mu, has served 2 terms as national director. He is a member of TBA, TSTA, NEA, featured in the January 42 school musician on the page They Are Making America Musical. He was selected by the Denton Public Schools as Teacher of the Year in 72-73, was one of the finalists for Texas Teacher of the Year in the same year. 62, a group of band members announced the beginning of the Carol McMath Music Scholarship Fund. Since that time, scholarships have been awarded to Denton High School graduating seniors nearly every year. Carol is author of an article entitled Band Manual, A Key to Building Better Bands, which discusses the manual used by his bands. He is also co-authored with Harold Gower, Band Methods and Collections. There's an analysis of more than 400 band methods and collections. He retired from teaching in 77, was honored at the halftime of the Denton football game, September 16, 77, by the band football team and band parents. The mayor designated that day as Carol McMath Day in Denton. He is truly an outstanding musician, director, and a very most admired man. The city of Odessa has long been noted for its fine band program and band directors. Robert Maddox solidified the program and beginning bringing national prominence to that West Texas Arkansas community. Mr. Maddox was born on March 20th, 1907 in Ballinger. His musical career began in Ballinger about 1921 when he learned to play a cornet he had obtained from a mail order catalog. It was the 1920s when Mr. Maddox graduated from Baylor University with a BBA degree. He began teaching in Ranger in 1928. When he went to Cisco in 1935, band was a part of the regular school program. It was in Cisco that Mr. Maddox received his first superior rating in a contest. His 1939 move to Mahia, a major step up in his career, permitted him to devote his teaching time solely to band work. In 1946, the Odessa years began. Until 1959, Robert Maddox held the baton over the Odessa High Bronco Band, and in 1959, he became the first coordinator of music for the Ector County Independent School District, a position he held until retirement in 1973. During his 15 years at Odessa High School, the band won 12 sweepstakes. He received commendations from the President of the United States, and also the Governor of Chihuahua, and 3 people-to-people tours to Mexico. He served as state band chairman for TMEA, president of TMEA in 1946-47. He was president of the Alpha chapter of Phi Beta Mu in 1957. One of our earliest members of TBA, and was selected Texas Bandmaster of the Year in 1959. He was also elected to membership of the American Bandmasters Association. He served for Executive Secretary of Region 6, the UIL, for many years. The latest addition on the Odessa High campus is the Robert L. Maddox Music Building, built in the spring and christened in the spring of 1990, as a low tribute to Mr. Maddox as a musician, educator, and humanitarian. He is still very active in retirement, still spends 3 months each year at his cherry orchard in Montana. Everett Maxwell was born January 1, 1912 in Ennis, Texas. He attended public schools in Marlin, Texas, where he started band in the 3rd grade. He graduated from Marlin High School in 1929 and enrolled in Abilene Christian College the same year. 33, he received his bachelor's degree in chemistry from ACC, received his master's degree from Texas Tech in 42, and his doctorate from Texas Tech in 1970. Everett's first teaching career was at Brant, Texas in 1934, where he taught elementary subjects in band. He moved to Anthony, New Mexico in 36 and taught science in band. 2 years later, he moved to Lovington, New Mexico and taught only band. He started the band program in Denver City in 1940. During World War II, he worked for General Dynamics in Fort Worth. He moved to Cordell, Oklahoma in 46 to teach band again, and in 1947, he moved to Andrews, Texas, and taught band at the high school for 12 years. He moved to Lubbock in 1959 and taught 1 year at Lubbock Christian College before going to Abernathy, where he taught band for 9 years. He returned to Lubbock Christian College in 1969 and retired from the college job in 1975. Everett tried to retire several times, but Lubbock Christian High School kept calling him back to teach either science or band, or both. Finally, in '85, he retired permanently. During his teaching career, Everett wrote many arrangements for his bands, also composed numerous marches, which were published by Southern Music Company in San Antonio. March Vivo was his first published march, written in the mid-50s while at Andrews. The balance of his marches, written and published, took place while he was at Abernathy, except for March Differenti, which was written as part of his doctoral study. The most played march has been Old Eagle-Eye March. Everett and his wife live in Lubbock, and although they may say they're retired, I think you'll find them very active retirees. Everett still plays in Dean Killian's brass band every week. Earl Ray. Player, teacher, supervisor, music teacher, each a profession, and Earl Ray has done each one. He was born on April 16, 1908 at Lyra near Mingus in Central Texas. Earl graduated from Mingus High School in 1925. Since his parents could not interest his older brother in music, then Earl had to do everything on his own. He borrowed a violin from an uncle and took lessons to prove that he was serious about music. And it got him out of the chores, such as milking, churning, and chopping wood. But since Mingus had a municipal band and no orchestra, Earl put down his violin and learned to play a baritone. After graduation from high school, Earl attended John Tarleton, a 2-year military school. He continued playing in the band and became an officer. Earl's family moved to Breckenridge while he was still in school. After graduating from Tarleton, Earl found out that money and jobs were scarce, so he headed for Breckenridge to live with his family until he could find a job. Pop Frazier was the band director at the high school at that time, and that is where Earl spent most of his time hunting for a job. One day, Pop told him that Monaghan's was wanting someone to come out there and start a band, and said he should take the job. So Pop gave Earl a 2-week crash course on reed instruments and the art of conducting. On January 1, 1928, Earl became the first director of the Monaghan School. Since there was no money for salary, he charged each student $5 a month when he could collect. That fall, Wink hired him to start their band. He then got his first regular paycheck, and for 1 year he commuted between the two schools. In 1929, Earl chose to go full-time at Wink because the town and the school were larger. During the 7 years he taught at Wink, his band won first place in Class C for 3 years, and then he moved up to Class B and won first place, then moved up to Class A. This was before the UIL had rating systems. The next big move in his career was to 1935, he moved to Abilene, Kansas, where he took over a 35-piece band and won a first division rating his second year there. His bands continued their winning ways for the next 6 years with the National Regional Contest in Omaha, Nebraska, Lawrence, Kansas, Topeka, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri, and Colorado Springs, Colorado. Earl had to continue his education during the summer months. He studied with Joseph DeLuca, an eminent euphonium soloist with the Sousa Band. He also attended the University of North Texas, Hardin Simmons University, Kansas University, and Texas Tech, where he received his bachelor's degree. He received his master's degree from the University of Northern Colorado. In 1942, Earl moved to North Dallas, where he taught for 4 years. Then he spent the 46-47 school year as the coordinator of instrumental music in the Highland Park system. Earl joined the business world in 1948 in Lubbock. He worked for BEA there for 8 years and then decided to start his own business, so he bought the band department. And from that point on, he and Laverne sold instruments and taught band directors. I don't know in which order. Until 1984, when he retired. They now serve as sponsors on Bus 2 for the Texas Tech Band, a position he and Laverne have held for 31 years. Roberts is an outstanding man among outstanding men. He was born November 18, 1923 in Eufaula, Oklahoma. He attended school in Muskogee, Oklahoma, where he played alto saxophone 4 years in the manual training high school marching, concert, and jazz bands. On graduation from high school, he received a scholarship to Wiley College, Marshall, Texas. Roy left school after 2 years to play professionally in Houston. It was while he was in Houston that he was drafted into the U.S. Navy, where he played in a Navy band for 3 years. On discharge from the Navy, he went to Los Angeles to play the club circuit. Roy decided he wanted to complete his education, so he returned to college at Sam Houston College in Austin, Texas. He continued playing in the college bands and professionally until he received his Bachelor of Arts degree and teacher's certification in music. He later received his master's degree in educational administration from Texas Tech University in Lubbock. His first teaching job was in Frederick, Oklahoma, where he spent 3 years developing a band program at Boyd High School. Moving on to Lubbock in 1952, he assumed the duties as band director at Dunbar High School. His Dunbar bands were of such fine caliber that he was asked by the area band directors to stage an exhibition of marching during their UIL marching contest. His jazz bands were in consistent demand to perform throughout the area. His concert bands were superior in every respect. The Dunbar band first attended contests at the Prairie View Interscholastic League, where they won sweepstakes ratings, and then in 1960, the Black West Texas League was formed, and Dunbar again won the sweepstakes award. In 1967, the Dunbar band was accepted into the UIL, where they continued their superior ratings. After 18 years as band director at Dunbar, Roy made a decision to become assistant principal at Estacada High School in Lubbock. 1 year later, he returned to Dunbar with a promotion to principal, where he stayed until he retired in 1984. Roy has always been and still is active in many professional and community service organizations. He is always there for you if you need help of any kind. Through his love and concern for many of his students, and with lots of encouragement, many of those students who might have dropped out of school now have a college degree of their own and are very successful. Roy was selected Administrator of the Year for the Lubbock ISD in 1978 and Man of the Year by Delta Sigma Theta sorority in 1980. Roy Roberts is an inspiration for us all. Ralph Smith was born October 15, 1923 at Slayton, Texas. At the time of his birth, his father was band leader in the Harley Sadler tent shows, which played in various towns throughout Texas and New Mexico. Later, the Smith family moved to Hereford, where Ralph's father was the high school band director for 23 years. Ralph began playing the cornet at age 6. He graduated from Hereford High School in 41, and while in high school, he participated in the National Music Contest in 39 and 40. From 42 to 46, during World War II, Ralph played with the 501st Air Force Band. He received his Bachelor of Science and Master of Arts degree in instrumental music from West Texas State in 49. His first teaching position as band director was in Childress, Texas from 49 to 52. In 1952, he moved to Denton, Texas, where he remained until one of his retirements in 1983. While in Denton, Ralph's band won 28 sweepstakes awards. They won the Outstanding Band Award at the Enid Tri-State Music Festival, Buccaneer Festival, Worlds of Fun Festival in Kansas City, and the Durango Band Festival. They were runner-up for Outstanding Band at Six Flags of St. Louis and at the Opryland Festival for 2 years. Ralph held every office in TVA. He has served as president of Phi Beta Mu Alpha Chapter, served as national board member for Phi Beta Mu. He was assistant executive secretary for TVA. He was the band contest chairman for Region 16 North Zone for 13 years. He served as a member and chairman of the State Music Advisory Committee. Ralph was Texas Bandmaster of the Year in 1979. He is well known as adjudicator and He is also the author of a book called Instant Mix. Ralph and his wife now spend much of their time traveling.
Barbara asked me to remind the inductees to please stay for a picture before you leave, so don't rush off to your next social engagement. And the family members as well. Well, we're on the last leg. I can't imagine anything going off this smoothly, except through the tremendously well-organized plan of Barbara Lovett. Sonnenberg, please come forward, my namesake. Eldon Sonnenberg was born in Rochester, Texas on September 6, 1920. The family moved to Shamrock, Texas, where Eldon graduated from high school in 1937. He enrolled at the University of Kentucky to study music, but stayed only one semester. He then transferred to North Texas State, where he studied clarinet with Dr. Lee Gibson. He received his Bachelor of Music degree from North Texas and immediately went into the U.S. Army to serve during World War II. Following his discharge, he returned to North Texas and completed his master's degree. His first band job was in Sinton, Texas. The wet and humid climate of the coast area caused health problems for his wife, and the doctors told the Sonnenbergs to move to West Texas. Eldon took the band job at Crane, Texas in 1947, where he developed a top-rate band program. In 1959, he moved to Sherman and taught there for 19 years. He moved to Denison in 1970, where he taught until his retirement in 1980. Eldon is considered one of the top clarinet experts in the state. He taught at the West Texas State and Midwestern University summer band camps for a number of years, plus he has served on many band camp staffs in several states. He has also headed all-state panels during his teaching career. For several years, he was selected as first-year clarinetist for the director's band at the Western State Band Camp at Gunnison, Colorado, directed by Dr. William D. Ravelli. He spent time to continue his performance techniques while teaching. Eldon was a distinguished member of Phi Beta Mu, serving on the board for many years. He was also active in TMEA and TBA, and has served as clinician and adjudicator throughout the years. Eldon and his wife, Mary Ruth, have retired to their lake home at Pottsboro. Few will ever forget Eldon's cheerful and happy outlook on life. Hal Spencer. And for the record, this is Forrest H. Spencer. But I didn't say that. Hal Spencer was born November 1, 1915 in Itasca, Texas. The family later moved to Marlin, Texas, where Hal began his public school education. While in school, he learned to play the clarinet and enjoyed band activities throughout his high school years. Following graduation from Marlin High School, he attended Southwest State Teachers College and later transferred to Sam Houston State Teachers College in Huntsville, where he received his Bachelor of Science degree with a major in instrumental music. During his senior year in college, he organized and directed the Huntsville Junior High School Band to a first division rating. After graduation from college, Hal became band director at ARP, Texas. The following year, he moved to a Class AA school, Center, Texas, where he taught math, high school choir, and band. In 1942, Hal joined the United States Air Force and became director of the 636th Air Force Band. When Hal was discharged from the Air Force in 1945, he went to Marlin High School as band director, where he remained for 29 years. During summers, he attended Sam Houston State Teachers College and received his Master of Arts degree with a double major in administration and in music. Hal's high school bands in Marlin won consistent first division ratings in concert playing. He was known to have one of the finest concert bands in the Central Texas area. The Marlin bands participated many times in the state fair band shows in the Cotton Bowl and other band activities throughout the state. Hal had been band chairman, region chairman, and served on the state board of directors of TMEA. He has served many times as contest chairman for UIL contest. He is an active adjudicator and clinician in the state of Texas. Hal and Weldon Covington and other of today's honorees worked together to revise the Constitution of TMEA. Hal became a member of Phi Beta Mu in 1958, where he served many times as ritual installation chairman and was president of the fraternity for a 2-year time. Hal retired in 1974, but he still loves to go to the band room and help out in any way he can. He has many ex-students active in the music in Henderson, Texas, and was also raised there. Following his graduation from Allen Academy, he studied trumpet privately in Natchitoches, Louisiana, then returned to the booming East Texas oil fields of the early 1930s. Acquiring other musicians through Billboard magazine, he organized and led a dance band that performed in hotels and dance clubs throughout the oil field area. In 1933, before the existence of school bands, Paul began teaching an organized class of 40 students from the Henderson area, each paying $6 a month for lessons. His successful private music school soon folded as the students became unable to continue paying the fee. He then returned to professional playing, and while performing with the Garth Green Band, Paul met J.T. Cox, then band director at Stephen F. Austin State College in Nacogdoches, Texas. Cox encouraged Paul to enroll in school at Stephen F. Austin and provided much assistance and guidance as Stroud began his bachelor's degree program. At the same time, Paul began teaching at Rocky Mount High School near Overton, Texas, where his band won outstanding ratings in regional and state competitions. In 1948, Paul began teaching at Spring Hill School near Longview. During his 7 years there, the band won many sweepstake awards. In 1955, Paul was one of the first band directors of the area to specialize in junior high school band work. During 10 years at Lufkin Junior High, the band won 10 consecutive UIL sweepstakes awards. In 1965, Paul returned to the Longview area and taught at junior high schools in the Longview Independent School District for 2 years and in Pine Tree Independent School District until his retirement in 1977. During his teaching career, Paul was an active member of TMEA and TBEA. He served in the State UIL Music Advisory Committee and on the UIL Music Selection Committee for concert and sight reading competitions. In 1974, Paul received the Bandmaster of the Year award from TBA. He was the first director chosen for induction into the Stephen F. Austin Band Directors Hall of Fame at Stephen F. Austin State University in 1980. During his 41 years as a music educator, Paul Stroud has been described by many as the master teacher and the band director's band director. His fatherly and grandfatherly approach in teaching young students has brought him much respect and admiration from many students, parents, and friends throughout East Texas. Alto Tatum. Alto Tatum was born February 19, 1912 in Morgan, Texas. He started to school in Timpson, Texas when he was a young boy. The family then moved to Fort Worth where he continued his education. He also began studying cornet with a violinist by the name of Metzger. Most of his early playing was in an ROTC band. He graduated from Texas Christian University with a bachelor and master's degree in history and philosophy. He played in the band and orchestra at TCU, and upon graduation became a trumpet player in the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra. His band directing career began in 1933 as an assistant band director at TCU. In 1934, he organized one of the first bands in East Texas at rural East Mountain High School in Upshur County near Gilmer and Gladewater. He moved to the oil field boom town of Gladewater in 1937, where he developed one of the best school band programs in the state. His Gladewater High School band received national recognition and was for years considered to be East Texas' finest. He also served as TMEA band chairman in 1947. Alto left the band directing field in 1948 and began a retail band instrument business in Longview. He not only is a successful band director, but also a successful businessman, as his several business venture has expanded from one store to several different music stores in different cities. He is presently a partner with Neil Grant in the Longview and Tyler branches of Tatum Music Company. Alto is well known in the music industry and among band directors as a person who has worked hard to promote the band program. He is recognized in East Texas as one of the most outstanding band conductors and clinicians, as well as a music dealer, teacher, counselor, and friend. His sincere love of bands and young people has obviously been the driving force in his over one-half century of supporting bands, directors, and students. One day, when Alto dropped in on a friend's band rehearsal, the director began making excuses about the way the band was playing that day. The director said to Alto, "The band played much better yesterday," and Alto quickly responded, "No, they didn't. You just listened better today." I'm not sure. You may be talking about me. Alto and his wife, Margaret, reside in Longview. He is still active in his music business, where he continues to work a full day every day. He is always available to talk band, history, and politics with those who drop by. He has a wealth of knowledge and experiences to share. Alto was accepted into Phi Beta Mu in 1947 with Dean Shank as his sponsor. Check those medals. These presenters are getting a little weary. Sam Watson. Sam Watson was born October 29, 1925 in Stanford, Texas. His schooling was in Borger, Texas, and he is a graduate of Borger High School. In 1950, Sam received his Bachelor of Music degree from West Texas State University, and in 1957, he completed his Master's degree in Music Education from West Texas State. Sam began his band directing career in Wildorado, Texas in 1949 and 50, and he continued his career at Spring Lake Earth in 1950 and 51. He moved to Spearman in 1951 and developed a band program that could boast being the largest band in the Panhandle, regardless of school classification. His Spearman band won sweepstakes for 14 years. They won the Outstanding Trophy at the Tri-State Music Festival in Enid, Oklahoma, and on 3 occasions got to keep the trophy after winning 3 consecutive years. One of Sam's Class B bands won 4th place in Class 3A State Honor Band competition. His tape was mistakenly placed into the higher classification at the convention. He accepted 4th place in Class 3A. In 1967 and 8, Sam directed the Olton High School Band. He then moved to Phillips and directed the high school band there from 1968 through 1973. Sam's bands were of the highest quality, as both the Olton and Phillips bands were sweepstakes winners. From 1973 through 1986, Sam was a member of the band staff in Pampa until his retirement in 1986. He received the Bandmaster of the Year Award in 1978 from TBA. Sam was a member of Phi Beta Mu, TMEA, TBA. He has served in various capacities in TMEA, Region 1, and he was named Outstanding Citizen by the Spearman Chamber of Commerce. Sam's bands were successful because Sam was a teacher of students first. He always had 60% plus of the student enrollment in band, as everyone wanted to be a part of the winning organization in his schools. He always has time to talk band to anyone, young or old. Sam and his wife Helen reside in Panda, Texas. Dr. Charles A. Pete Wiley. Dr. Pete Wiley was born in Abilene, Texas, March 2, 1925. He began school in Abilene, but when his father, Dr. D.O. Wiley, became band director at Texas Tech, the family moved to Lubbock, where Pete graduated from Lubbock High School in 1942. He attended Texas Tech, earning a bachelor's degree in mathematics. He received a master's degree in music from the University of Texas and a doctorate of education degree from the University of Colorado. While attending Tech, Pete played oboe and was drum major of the Texas Tech band conducted by his father. He also did undergraduate study in music at the University of Kansas, where he assumed the duties of drum major and played first oboe in the band and orchestra, both conducted by his father's brother, Russell Wiley. Pete served a year as oboe instructor at the University of Kansas and 3 years as assistant band and orchestra director with one of our honorees, Weldon Covington, at Austin High School in Austin, Texas. In 1958, he became director of bands at Lamar Tech, later to become Lamar University. The Lamar Symphonic Band, under Pete's direction, performed by invitation at TMEA state conventions 5 times, the first being in 1957 and the last being in 1980. The band performed by invitation after competitive tape auditions at 2 regional and 3 national MEMC conventions, and by invitation at 3 ABA international conventions and 1 regional convention of the College Band Directors National Association. The Symphonic Band also toured Mexico on 5 different occasions, traveling as far as Mexico City. Pete is an active member of the American Bandmasters Association, Alpha Chapter of Phi Beta Mu, and is a past national president of Kappa Kappa Psi. He is also a member of TBA, TMEA, and TMAA. He was recognized by the School Musician magazine as one of the 10 most outstanding band directors in the United States in 1977. He was selected Texas Bandmaster of the Year in 1989. Pete and his wife, Mary Jane, reside in Ruidoso, New Mexico, where he manages his publishing company, TRN. That's really nice.
she's concerned. This afternoon has been the most rewarding afternoon of my life, traveling through the memory lane with all of these many friends, and I know most of you feel the same way. It is important that most of you who are not members of Phi Beta Mu know more about our fraternity. In 1936, our founder, Colonel Earl D. Irons, and our first honorary life president, Dr. D.O. Wiley, both were elected to membership in the American Bandmasters Association, the most prestigious bandmaster association in the world. After their experience of fellowship with the outstanding bandmasters of all times in the ABA, Colonel Irons felt that there were many of his colleagues who should have a similar opportunity, though he knew that membership in ABA was rather limited. To help solve his dilemma, he envisioned an organization on the state level that would honor outstanding bandmasters who may not become members of ABA. With Dr. Wiley's cooperation, they organized Phi Beta Mu in 1938. The establishment of our fraternity was Colonel Irons' way of sharing his newly found joy with outstanding colleagues. Today, Phi Beta Mu is the only national or international bandmasters fraternity in the world. It is the only bandmaster organization